so much talking about death. I think it's talking about, I know one thing when we're directing the actors, when I start talking about the end of the world, they were looking at me blank. When I started talking about you're going to die tonight, now I'm starting to get a reaction out of it. You know what I mean? The end of the world is, you die alone. The individual is always important. He's going to be so really important the moment he's dying. Because, you could die together, but you die alone. It was a boom, you know what I mean? We really, we shot this film digitally. We've been editing digitally forever. But we've been, to get our films out, showing, using the internet, that kind of communication. It's a powerful form of communication. And it's an exciting thing because it's right at the beginning of it right now. And how it's going to affect the movies and how it's going to affect how people make movies and how people watch movies. When you get to the heart of really what movies are about. Are they about a personal, singular experience, or do they not exist outside of a communal form, like a theater full of people? What is a movie? Just what you say. I think it can't be anything but good. No matter, when people start saying it cheapens the product, I don't think it can ever cheapen the product. Because people make them, even if you make one film in your life, it makes you appreciate movies so much more, I know for me, just playing, I play guitar, just playing it as badly as I play makes me appreciate music so much more, So the fact that a lot of people do it, a lot of people try it, a lot of people see it, it just enhances their ability to look at movies and be that much more discerning when they see it.
Because we get better at it. I trust him a little bit more. He trusts me a little bit more. It's really true. I think we get to know each other better, and we can shorthand things and go a little deeper. And I like what he does, and I like being in his company, and he strikes a nice balance between being a strong personality and making a film where he's definitely the director,
right,
but also inviting you into the process. And when I work with him, I feel like a filmmaker as well, but our functions are slightly different.
Because we see how in his films thematically, they're always very interesting and tackling subjects that are very intense. But you that working with him might probably have seen a different evolution in his work.
I have, and I've seen a different evolution in him. Lately, without getting into gossip, he's changed a lot of things in his life, and I think his interests have shifted, and he's a much more open-hearted, optimistic person than he was, I'd say. And that makes him a little bit more flexible, I'd say.
And you see that reflected
in some of the things that he's considering in this movie. There's generosity that isn't always apparent in his movies. He's always had a sweet heart, but it's been buried under a lot of toughness.
Because I just spoke with him, and
I think sometimes that comes with getting older.
Oh yeah, exactly.
You get a little softer and a little more thoughtful.
Right, and also it makes you more maybe reflect about death. Because I was talking to him and saying that how you can think about the end of the world like a sci-fi concept, but in his film it's about the goodbyes, and it's very moving because it feels, it's about dying.
Yeah, I think so. The end of the world is it's too far from our experience to really be able to wrap our brains around. But I think, I'll speaking for myself, I think about death all the time. I think it's natural for most people. In this movie, the way it's built just allows us to examine some very elemental themes and questions that I think we ask ourselves all the time that deal with, how we live and how what is the world we create, and what are we responsible for, and what do we have to just let go?
Right.
Basic questions that we ask ourselves in how we live.
You just mentioned how working with him makes you feel also part of the part of the filmmaking process. So I was wondering if you have an opinion about those topics being best served through film. You know,
Those
topics, that strength that needs to be developed to talk about in art about, you know.
I think one of the greatest powers of film is that in the poetry of film, in the language of film, is it can really make you have a great shift in how you see things. And that's a very powerful, positive thing. So these kind of, as we speak about them, it sounds quite boring and quite intellectual and sometimes prosaic, sometimes heady. But the truth is, what Abel has done in this movie, I think, is he's given a very straightforward narrative that all these things are examined in very practical, simple ways. But how you roll into the story and the conditions set for the story create a resonance to make room for, as you're watching these characters and as you're seeing what they do and as you're identifying them with them, you start to think about your own life and reflect on these huge issues of ways of living,